It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. We are back from vacation. Gary, how are you?
I'm doing good, I mean, it was a great week off. The interesting thing is not that you don't do show prep every day, but you're out and about doing different things than you normally do during the schedule that you're doing the radio show.
Right, yeah.
And so there were two major things. I mean, there were a bunch of different things, but the two major things that caught me. And again, because I was on vacation, I wasn't paying as much attention to what was going on in the mainstream media and just the media in general.
Right.
But when we were going on vacation, you saw the Harris campaign said, "Oh yeah, Biden's going to come out and campaign with us."
Yeah,
and then he did.
Yeah.
Now,
how'd that go?
if you want an indication about what the internal polls are saying, there is no way. Remember, they didn't force Biden out,
right,
because of his lack of cognitive abilities. They forced him out because they believed he was the worst. Every time he spoke, it was the worst. He did damage.
Right.
And for them to say, let's bring Biden out on the road with us, where he had gaffe after gaffe after gaffe after gaffe. I mean, he was horrible.
It was so bad.
I mean, again, his cognitive abilities, like most people, if you have, whatever he has, it doesn't get better. It only gets worse.
Right.
And it was bad. It shows that because that would have been 10 days ago when that announcement came out. Mm-hmm. And then he's on the road. And I'm like, okay, that's it. He made an appearance. He should come out and just smile and wave.
You fulfilled your promise as a campaign, be done. But if they're counting on him to be there, it tells us, and we were saying this in the final days before our vacation. We kept saying, man, they've got to be scratching their heads going, can we get Biden back? And it reeks of that kind of desperation of, how do we make this work? And it was so bad. They had to have known that the gaffes were going to happen. They had to have known that was going to happen. Yeah. But it didn't matter. The imagery, it doesn't matter. Try anything and everything.
Right, but you only do that because you're desperate.
Exactly.
If they
what
believe
we were saying in those final days before vacation.
Right. What we had said was after Biden spoke at the convention, we said they won't tie themselves together again.
Right.
She will not tie herself to him. The campaign won't.
But a couple of weeks ago, it just started to change.
Right. The fact that we've seen the momentum of the polls, if you look at the vast majority of the polls, and if you look at the polls that are really the most trustworthy from 2020, which would be Trafalgar and Rasmussen. Mm-hmm. Did I say it correctly? Rasmussen.
One of his top pollsters says Rasmussen.
Oh, Rasmussen?
Okay. I don't know.
I thought I heard Rasmussen, and then because I just said Rasmussen.
We've always said Rasmussen.
Right. But when you look at those polls, you have seen the movement. When you look at, that, by the way, the left just going crazy at Nate Silver. I mean,
right.
For putting the odds of Trump winning over Harris. Again, we're not making a prediction for the election, just telling you that they believe, the Harris campaign believes they're in deep doo-doo right now.
Yep.
Otherwise, he would have never, ever. What was the reason? That I would have asked the campaign, why is he out there for you?
Why?
Well, because we believe that there are millions of Americans. That's a lie.
That's a lie. It's the reason she's the nominee.
Right. Don't even finish there. That's a lie.
That's full on false.
You have him out there because you don't know where else to go right now. You don't know where to go.
It is a real desperate situation, and also, and this is day 50 now. No formal press conference, and it's not just Fox News. I know Fox News has the counter.
Do they really?
They're doing it on their app. Basically, they're day 50, day 49 days, and so now we're at day 50. They might actually. I don't watch a lot of Fox News, so they may actually have a tote board. But it's also the mainstream media that notices this, and they don't know where to go with it because they went from, for the longest time. With her as VP, oh, she's not the one. Oh, she's not the one. Oh, she's not the one. To all of a sudden, what we meant to say was, of course she's the one when Biden dropped out. And then they all had to get in line. Well, she was never a czar. She was never this. She was never that. And trying to defend her. And they were dancing all over the place. And now they're in a situation where reality is set in again. And they understand this. They know this. And they're looking like fools. We know why they feel like they have to fall on this sword. We know why they feel like they have to do this. But I have to wonder, inside these liberal newsrooms, the conversations that are going on between these activist reporters and editors and other individuals that are looking at this going, you try and prop it up the best you can. They were doing it with Biden. We said, all right, there are two ways you can go. You've got to either convince him that he has to drop out. This is before he dropped out. Or you have to get out the duct tape and the super glue and weekend at Bernie's this thing all the way to November 5th. Now they have to do the same thing with her for a different reason until November 5th. That's not going to change. You're not going to see many in the liberal media, in the mainstream media. They're going to be cooing over her. We've got some examples of that coming up. It's insane. But November 6th, if Donald Trump wins the day after the election, I guess you do what they have done for years. Remember after the 2016 election, the day after or a week after the 2016 election, maybe we need to put on our work boots and go to the Midwest and be all Midwestern-y. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's not going to work. And they came back from their 9-martini lunch that day and went, oh, did we say that? No, we're not doing that. And now you're in a situation where, and it's clear, they don't care. They can be as wrong as they are and still on November 6th going, well, whatever. They move on to the next thing. They ignore the insanity that they've helped to create here. And it really is all-out insanity. We are right now, and I've been saying this for a while, we're at a critical crossroads politically and in this country in terms of what we're going to be as a nation, how we define ourselves as a society. That's November 5th is it. We decide we're going to tolerate this insanity from the left that they have built, that they have created, all of the entire list of crazy items on their agenda that we're going to not only tolerate it, we're going to endorse it and ask for more of it, or we end it.
Well, I'll say this, when one of the rallies that Trump had, or it was either the rally or one of the interviews that he had where he talked about the things that he would do, and we'll get into some of it just a little bit. I mean, the sovereign wealth fund, which never is going to happen, by the way.
Right.
That's completely DOA. But when what was it when he was doing the interview? Oh, what was he talking about? Oh, I forgot now what I was going to say. Oh man.
We'll get it.
Yeah, we'll get it. We'll get it here in a little bit. But it was it was just it. That was one thing that got me. The other thing that got to me, where I just went, wow, Now, again, the exact chronology of this was what I was experiencing at that time because I wasn't doing my normal show prep at the normal time. I wasn't paying attention as I do 24/7. It might have been 18/7.
Yeah.
But perfect, absolutely perfect example of liberalism in 2024 in California. I turn on the TV and I see the reparations activists furious in California, furious because the cash reparations, stalled and isn't going to go through because they just don't have the money. They just don't have the money. They're furious about it. Doggone it, we've got to have the cash reparations. Cash reparations. California says, no, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. Hey, let's give illegal immigrants $150,000 to buy a home. That's the new one. Yeah. And the reparations activists are going crazy. Wait a minute, you're giving illegal immigrants $150,000 for a home, yet we get nothing in cash reparations. And then by the time we get to Friday, Newsom says, oh, by the way, I'm vetoing the $150,000 because we don't have any money because we promise everything, but because we're liberals, we've spent all the money and we can promise stuff, but we can't actually pay for it anymore. And I went, perfect example of where liberalism is in 2024.
Yeah, and we're too busy spending money, basically flushing it down the drain, like on the homeless thing that they spent billions on, that you've got nothing to show for it, and things that we're too busy spending money elsewhere where it doesn't get a return. We can't spend any money on our citizens or non-citizens. There will be no reparations. There will be no money for homes for illegals. But you know what? It's the building of one of the situations that was in play in 2016. And the Wall Street Journal, the day after the election, walked through Harlem and was asking just people on the street, what do you think? Why do you think Hillary lost and Trump won? And one of the common threads in the answers was, well, she was talking about things in other parts of the world, and he was talking about the problems here at home. And when you talk like that, when you float these ideas of $150,000 for a new home for illegals, and by the way, it's not just in California. There are liberals talking about these kind of ideas of giving benefits to people who aren't citizens. It is absolutely insane, and it has the makings, quite potentially, of what we saw in 2016, probably a millionfold.
Oh, I know what I was going to say about Trump doing the interview and it was asked about child care and things like that, which then a lot of conservatives said, why is the federal government involved in child care at all?
Right.
And they're like, well, his answer wasn't completely clear. And I went, okay, you know where we are in the campaign right now? Where both sides now are promising you everything that is never going to be done.
Right.
Because they think that's the people that are out there that are undecided, the people that want something. So we've got to offer something to everybody.
Well, that's it. But, that's one of those leftovers, too, from his daughter. And you and I had the conversation, I think, off the air. I don't think we talked about it on the air. Because his daughter has not, been an active part of this campaign. And, in fact, the word was pretty early on, she wasn't going to be. She probably wouldn't serve as an advisor, except if there's potential there and her dad comes to her, then she might be responding. Or it just might be that it's a leftover idea from his daughter's time in advising him, because that was one of the things she was pushing on the child care. And it's also one of the concerns that we have. Don't ask us. Liz Cheney said it. Donald Trump is a moderate. If you didn't have proof before, the proof is right there. The Cheneys have decided. But it's the concern for a lot of us conservatives is that, all right, but you can't be spending money in your second term like a liberal. You can't be doing these things that conservatives and your conservative base don't get behind, and that is getting into things that the government doesn't belong in. And look, we had problems when it was Rubio and Mike Lee who got together and pushed for the fully refundable child tax credit increase. which is welfare. Call it welfare. Do a welfare bill. Get the votes on it. And if you got the votes, then that's one thing. But calling it a child tax credit when you know that it's not, we had concerns with both Mike Lee at the time and Rubio. It doesn't end. There's not going to be a parade. There is no celebration if Trump wins because the job isn't done. He did, we believe, very good things in his first term. But we need both a president and a party who understand what actually has to be done. I think they do. And then beyond that, of course, the most important thing, they have to actually execute it. They have to do it. They have to get it done. And we'll see if that, falls out that way. We'll see if they've got the fight in them. I believe the party has the makeup. They have the individuals that I was concerned about years ago in Trump's first term, I was just looking at it going, my gosh, who are the fighters in the party? Trump seems to be fighting. Who else is going to fight in the future? Trump's not going to be president at some point any longer. So who's going to be the future of the party? Well, we saw that at the convention. And I believe each of those individuals, the future of the party, the Republican Party, I think right now those individuals are fighters, and they all want the same thing. But then they have to do the work. They have to get it done. And that's really where we are.
866-90-RED-EYE.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. Did you know that up to half of all major engine failures are due to poor cooling system maintenance? That's a lot of downtime and can cost drivers big. You expect a lot from your engine, which is why the cooling system must be a part of your maintenance routine. Here's a tip to keep your cooling system in shape and your engine running smooth. Make sure the system is properly filled with coolant at every PM interval and during pre- and post-trip inspections. Underfilling the cooling system can cause corrosion and your engine to overheat. Coolant is also used to keep DEF tanks thawed in the winter. If you notice unusually low coolant levels, be sure to have your cooling system inspected by a professional technician.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. We're back from vacation. Did you have a good one? We haven't even talked about anything about vacation at all, even off the air. Everything has been what happened when we were gone.
Yeah, it was quiet. Yeah, so,
yeah. Same with me. Dad's doing great.
Good.
Dad's doing great.
Good. Very good.
Just we did a bunch of stuff, and then really the rest of my vacation was really doing. I was pretty much of a hermit. Was doing just tons of housework, and working out. I mean, like crazy. Mm-hmm. And that's because I have to do blood work tomorrow. Mm. And no matter what, being a type 2 diabetic, having metabolic syndrome, as they call it, which is not just type 2 diabetes, it's type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, and you can have bad cholesterol or a combination of both.
Right.
And the first symptom, as my father always reminds me, I walk in, he goes, let me look, okay, the first symptom of metabolic syndrome is a gut, and you seem to be doing okay. Mm-hmm. In fact, my doctor, whenever I go in, my doctor says, I don't need blood work. I know whether you're doing right or not. I just come in and look at your gut. Mm-hmm. He goes, and it's not sticking out, so you're doing
right.
You're doing good. But I never had high cholesterol. Even when with that, I never had high cholesterol, but they want it super, super low. I mean, super, super low. But they want my good cholesterol higher, and the only way you can do that is exercise, vigorous exercise. Right. Nothing else raises good cholesterol, so I did a bunch of that, too.
All right.
That was about it. It was pretty boring.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you for being here. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. I've got my super coffee here. I'm ready to go.
All right.
And you know why I got the super coffee right now with me? Because this is where we really, being off a week, where we change our shift.
Yeah.
Our sleep pattern change. My sleep pattern changes.
Usually that's the case for me, but I didn't fall into my the vacation time sleep pattern. I was up till 3 or 4, all but maybe a couple of nights.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, I'm an old man. I'm an old man now.
Yeah.
Because I, did my chores and things during the day, and by 9 o'clock I was conking out, and I was up at 6.
Well, having said that, I was still up at 7 or 8 a.m. It was there were a lot of things going on at the house, but and so there wasn't a lot of sleep to be had until Sunday. I did sleep a little bit more on Sunday in preparation for the show. There was really no way around that. Had to. Still a lot of things going on, but it was it's one of those weeks where, all right, still got to get up. Now, a couple of times I did have an opportunity, a couple of days, to take an afternoon nap, so that was good.
I took an afternoon nap last week. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, this is really bad if I'm taking a nap. I didn't sleep last night at all. I could not get in the sleep pattern. But I've slept so much where I'm fine right now.
Yeah. It's interesting because from a couple of weeks ago, temperatures have dropped dramatically.
I know.
15, 20 degrees.
It's going to be in the 50s.
Yeah. Yeah, crazy.
Here tonight.
And so that was nice, being able to go outside and not being hit by the heat. The humidity the other day, last week, I was working outside pretty much all day, but that day, the humidity, it wasn't huge, but it was over 50%, and the heat was still at 89, 90 degrees, and I was working at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And that was a bit cumbersome, but besides that, I'll take this. I'm okay with, and I saw the Farmer's Almanac thing, that we may be, I think what they said was at normal or slightly below average temperature. And I don't even know what our average temperature for the winter is, but I'm okay with mild winters. So I'm hoping we have one. I'll take that over freeze apocalypse any day. Here, within a couple of weeks, we'll officially be into fall, into autumn. So I am ready for the cool down. August is the barn burner, almost literally. And I am okay with the cool down now that we're seeing, which is not always the case. We don't always cool down at the beginning of September like this, but we've had a couple of cool fronts that have come through. It's been really good.
It was great.
Yeah.
I saw L.A., though, was really hot last week. Oh,
I think that's part of the reason I think that we're seeing our cool down is we don't have that high pressure system right now sitting over us that we had back in August for a while. So, yeah, I'm all right with that. Sorry, L.A.
So other things that happen, by the way, I can't believe we're up, tomorrow's a debate. It's just like, wow.
No, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
I saw a story, I think it was Thursday or Friday. I think it was Friday. Well, the debate and blah, blah, blah. Like, why are we covering the debate? Oh, that's because it's in a few days. And it's tomorrow night. That is crazy.
So what else happened last week? We just touched on a little bit. The endorsements that Kamala got.
Yeah, the Cheney family panel is on board. I'll just have to dive into conspiracy theory territory. Hey, Dick Cheney, what is it that you don't want Donald Trump to find out? Because, when and this is why we say when we look at things, it's Liz Cheney doesn't have any credibility at all. And Dick Cheney's now following suit. after the whole thing, the bogus January 6th committee, which was bogus start to finish, just come out and say you don't like the guy. Just say it out loud. Just say it. I personally hate the guy's guts. Just say it. Because at least then I would believe you. Because now what you've proven is that you're a liberal. You're really not a conservative. I love Liz Cheney on Sunday morning. Well, people need to know Donald Trump is not a conservative. Well, welcome to the discussion that conservatives have been having for a while now. And also, you're helping Donald Trump's campaign, any campaign, in the general election season, is trying to come off more as a moderate. Whether they're far left or far right, they're trying to come off more as a moderate. Now, Kamala Harris isn't pulling it off. We know she's far left. But Donald Trump has always been mainstream. If you want to say moderate, moderate. And that's been a given for her to come out. People need to know. You're saying it, Liz, like you just found it out.
So you don't like the moderate, so you're going to vote for
the
Kamala.
Radical. Yeah, for the radical.
Okay.
Yeah. I will not support someone who's not conservative. That's why I'm voting for Kamala Harris. What? What?
You know something? Did you notice whenever she speaks, the fury that's inside of her?
Yeah.
I mean, the rage that's inside of her. You know who reminds me of, and this is another point I wanted to make, and it was not from this past weekend, because I only saw on Meet the Press, Kristen Welker interview Sanders, where Sanders basically said, no, Kamala hasn't given up on her socialist leaning. She's just doing this to win. We'll play that audio cut coming up, and it's like, duh, we know that.
Right.
But if you saw her face, she has a face like when Cotton is on her, she's talking to Vance. There is a very visual fury in her.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an anger that she's about to lose it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wonder if anybody at NBC says, look, you can still make your points and be a political activist, but don't make it so obvious. You can see the fury in her face, her facial expressions. It's like every muscle in her face is as stretched out, every ligament, everything that affects your face is just as taut as it can possibly be. It's stretched out to the max. You're about to just absolutely lose it.
Yeah. Right.
Like, anybody notice this? I mean, she's really, really angry anytime any Republican is on. I mean, she just...
Well, it's, and it's indicative of where they are right now, the frustration, I think, of where they are. And Byron Donalds, when he was on ABC This Week with Stephanopoulos, and Stephanopoulos lost it. And it's like, wow, dude, you got to calm down.
And they're going to be losing it more and more and more.
Yeah.
You saw the AP tweet that they put out, and then post on X. Then they dropped it and put out another one, on JD Vance.
Right.
Taking him out of context. Expect that to happen consistently between now and Election Day.
Oh, yeah. Not only that, I saw a couple of stories that where they were just flat out lying, the media, and how they wrote the story on something. They were just flat out lying. I mean, it was, and I thought to myself, well, this is it. This is the game. And it also tells you the desperation that they have here, that they're experiencing right now across the board. If you're confident in the candidate or the side that you support, why the anger? Well, because the anger comes from fear. Well, why fear? Because you're getting word of the internals. You're getting word, and you're acknowledging really through that fear something you've known and acknowledged before she was the nominee. Before Kamala was the nominee, she was not it. In fact, the liberal media was all but mocking her.
And just the casual interactions that I had with people over vacation, so much of it was, hey, why won't she talk?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about that and I went, how cowardly.
Yeah.
When you think about it, how cowardly the Democrats are.
Yeah.
Because we know why she can't speak.
Right. Because
she cannot tell the American public the truth.
No, she can't.
And it is so obvious. Even CNN was pounding on her flip-flopping and just pounded her on the wall last week and everything else about her attacking, Donald Trump, even CNN pounding on it. She cannot think about this. If you're a Democrat, say what you will about Trump. You can say a bunch of things. Everything's been said about him.
Right.
But basically, if you ask him a question, he's going to answer you.
Yep.
And you have Vance will answer you.
Yep.
You don't have either Harris or Waltz. I mean, let's put it this way: Waltz's family has done more press conferencing than Waltz.
Yeah, exactly. The Walls is for Trump.
The Walls, yes.
All of them wearing the T-shirt, too.
Not only is Trump for the Walls are for Trump.
Exactly.
But it's how, seriously, how cowardly. But that's the other thing when you just sit back a little bit and you're not doing this every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, I can understand why the polls are where they are and why people are saying what they're saying. Who the hell runs for president of the United States and is afraid to talk to people?
Yeah.
Who's afraid to answer questions and tell them what they believe?
Even more, why aren't you trying to convince people?
Yeah.
Think about that. Why are you not? You're it. You're the person who's running. You're in the critical moment. We are now inside 2 months. Early voting starting here in a matter of weeks in some places. And you should be screaming at the top of your lungs every chance, telling the media, knowing the media now is the reach. The campaign stops or not. That's groups of people. That's not going to get you the play that you would have if you did that on top of not just formal press conferences, but walking up and taking questions from the media anytime, any place.
Even I saw this in the New Republic, the liberal publication. Frank Luntz put a quote there from the article. Kamala Harris is imitating Biden's very bad media strategy. A quote from that article. The Harris-Walz media strategy in a nutshell. Avoid the press at all costs. Even when asked questions, it should be layups. It sounds familiar. It's because President Biden employed the same strategy. It didn't work out so well for him. It may not for Harris either. Well, everybody knew why Biden wasn't doing it.
Right.
Because his cognitive abilities were so bad. It's something that Democrats are still lying about today. We still don't know officially. We do know officially because we have our eyes. We have our eyes and ears and we can observe things. But the Democrats have not, and the Biden campaign has never officially told America specifically why he is pulling out of the election or why he pulled out of running for president.
Right.
But we had asked this question weeks ago, said she's following the same strategy that Biden did, but Biden had an excuse. Now, granted, they were lying to everybody, but everybody knew what his excuse was anyway because people observe. And they said, no, his cognitive abilities are so bad, they want to keep him out of the press.
Right.
Hers, what is it?
Right. Why? Why isn't she trying to convince more people? Democrats keep pointing out, this is going to be a close election. You run like you're 20 points behind every time.
Right.
And she won't talk to the media.
So what do you come to the conclusion? She won't do it because she doesn't have the ability to answer any question and be cross-examined.
And she knows it.
And she knows
Biden never believed it about himself.
That's a great point. That's the best point. More coming up, 866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. We've just begun to analyze what happened when we were on vacation and look forward to what's happening this week and the rest of the campaign, the debate coming up. I look at this here. Harris campaign says the muted mics handcuffed its debate strategy. How?
How?
We'll get to that coming up.
Right.
Top of the hour news is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. Good morning. I'm Gary McNamara. He's Eric Harley. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
So the other thing is, because you wonder what people are thinking, and when we go on vacation, it's not the same. It's not the same life that I live when I'm not on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
You're every single day, things move so quickly. Talk radio is completely different than what it was even 20 years ago. The fact is, with smartphones and with social media, the news changes every minute. And so you're constantly paying attention. So you're always in the loop. When you're not in the loop and you're not talking to people that are in the loop like you are all the time, when I talk to you or even, a couple of my close friends, they're in the loop.
Yeah.
They're talk radio listeners. They're in the loop. They know all the issues out there.
Right.
But the interesting thing is to see people that, and one person in particular that I met that always said, I'm an independent. And I told him, no, you're not. You're conservative. You like calling yourself an independent, but you're not. Dear old friend of mine that I haven't seen probably in 10 years. And I just happened to see when I was out and about in New York. He goes, well, I'm an independent. I go, no, you're not. Everything I've just said, you agreed with. So you're a conservative.
Right.
It's like, oh, okay, maybe I am. But I take a look at both sides. Who doesn't?
Right.
I don't take a look at both sides. Of course I take a look at both sides. In fact, the reason I'm so confident in my opinion is because I know exactly how the other side thinks. But when you start talking to people, and again, this person I was talking to is not in the loop of talk radio or paying attention to issues like we are. But he and a few other people that I met were just like, how can the Democrats be talking about that we need to stop, disinformation and misinformation when all we get from this administration is lies? It was the most lies we get. I'm like, bingo. Yeah. That message is out there.
Right.
It's out there. That's, if you're wondering why, people are looking at this and going, well, okay, why aren't you concerned about Russia disinformation? Well, because the biggest disinformation that we've received, on things like the Hunter Biden laptop, which everybody agrees, 51 of those intelligence quote leaders, signing it saying, oh yeah, this is definitely, this has all the marks of Russia disinformation. Again, as we know, came from the Biden campaign, as we now know.
Right. Yeah, with Hunter's plea on Friday, I was waiting for him to just go ahead and not just on tax evasion, he was going to plea on the whole laptop thing. You know what? I did it all.
Well,
if you were following the story on Friday, you understand how bizarre it was.
But if you look at Russia collusion,
mm-hmm. Yeah,
if you look at the whole Russia collusion hoax
mm-hmm.
with Trump, all a lie, all created by the Hillary campaign and supported by every single Democrat in Congress supported the lie that Trump was colluding with the Russians to hack the 2016 election.
Mm-hmm.
And we've gone through it. We all know. That's documented fact now. We all know. Nobody's not even Democrats are debating it. They're ignoring it. And I want to play here. I want to go to Tom Cotton because he hits us with Dana Bash on CNN. And this is about the Department of Justice going after that one media company that was being financed by the by China,
right?
Whatever.
Right.
And so there were, and the Department of Justice said the I don't know, they call them conservatives. I don't know. I know one of the guys they talked about, Benny Johnson. That's always he always jumps on stuff and he's wrong. Mm-hmm. And you and I both notice. I go, don't jump on it. Don't jump on it.
Right.
Don't say you hold my side and then jump on something and be wrong.
Right.
Don't be so worried about being first. Be worried about being right.
Mm-hmm.
But he and I think Dave Rubin, who does a pretty good job, I think Rubin does a good job
mm-hmm.
on a lot of stuff. That the company that they were working for was being financed by China. The Department of Justice said they didn't know about it.
Right.
They didn't know the financing came there, which then the warning is always know if you're going to be in the media, make sure you know where the financing comes from.
Exactly. Right.
And so when you work for a major radio company like we do, we know where the money comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And so but she started getting into that discussion and Cotton hits exactly what we hit. Here we go.
I want to turn to a very different topic, and that is something that the Justice Department said this week. They detailed a Russian government effort to stoke divisions in the U.S. using front organizations and social media prominent right-wing influencers like Dave Rubin and Benny Johnson, who have ties to Tenet Media. Now, that's a company that the Justice Department says was being funded by Russian operatives. You sit on the Intelligence Committee. How worried are you that right-wing influencers, people who do have an impact on your constituents, are being funded either directly or indirectly by the Russian government in order to make an impact on this election?
Well, first off, Dana, we haven't been in session, so I haven't seen any intelligence about this matter. I've only seen the allegations I've read in the newspaper. People should not knowingly take money from the government of Russia or Iran or China or any other adversarial nation to try to influence the election. But I also think it's fair to say that a few memes or videos in the vast sea of political commentary is not going to make much of a difference in this election, nor has it in past elections as well. What did make a difference in the last election is the lies about Hunter Biden's laptop that more than 4 dozen former intelligence officials lied about in the middle of that campaign. And most networks, to include this one, bought that lie hook, line, and sinker. That did make a difference in the election. But I think a few videos or commentaries, which, again, you shouldn't do if you're out there in the business of commentating on elections, is not going to make a difference in the vast sea of commentary we see.
And he's right on that. We talked about the Facebook ads with $100,000 worth of ads on Facebook or whatever. It was like, that's nothing. That's a drop in the bucket. If you want to look again, and this is something that I got from people that call themselves, like I said, they may be more conservative, but they call themselves independent. Apparently it's still cool because you can say, I'm an independent. What I do is I look at what one side says, and then I go look at what the other side said. Well, what the hell you think I do?
Exactly.
So you're an independent because you couldn't come to a conclusion?
What other side? I didn't know there was another side. Just mine.
Just mine.
What are you talking about?
Right, just my side. We don't test. We don't. What would you call that? Focus group.
Yeah.
Anything.
Right.
But that was the biggest disinformation comes from the government. And look at the whole Russia collusion hoax.
Mm-hmm.
Completely false.
Mm-hmm.
Never happened. Made up by the Democrats.
Right.
It was made up by Democrat money.
Yeah.
The Hillary campaign was actually fined for from the FEC for lying about where the money was going. The dossier was created, a lot of it from a drunk fest with Iggy Danchenko, a Russian national.
Right.
I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And
that was known from the beginning. You had, I don't know, countless people involved in that who knew where it came from.
Oh,
and it was, we started asking questions right away. My gosh, that's wild how far back that goes.
Yeah, that goes back to January 2nd of
2017.
2017, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Whew. That's crazy.
I know.
With just a few months, it'll be 8 years.
And
then it went on for years.
It went on for years. It was completely false. Completely false.
They had a special prosecutor assigned to that.
Yep. Completely false.
And they knew by then, long before the special prosecutor Mueller was assigned, that it was false information.
So if you look at that, if you look at COVID and the misinformation, the disinformation, the vast majority of misinformation, disinformation, lies, however you choose to do it, it wasn't the truth.
Right.
Came from whom?
Came from the left.
Came from the left.
Well, and now they're pushing for people who aren't citizens of this country to be able to vote. Does that include Russians? Y'all want to make that happen before November 5th?
Somebody needs to ask that question because how many times have we said that on the air?
Right. Over the years, this is,
how many times
it's like,
we've said that?
okay. Yeah. You mean Russians too, right? You know, they paint themselves into a corner over and over again, and they have zero self-awareness, either zero self-awareness or they just simply don't care. They're counting on a number of things, but at the top of that list is what they call the stupid American voter. When you get into the conversations on the whole Russian hoax thing, eyes start to glaze over. You and I have both seen it firsthand. When you go through the details of it, and that right there is the hallmark of a Clinton-esque plan put into play and carried out with people of similar mindsets for years to make it look legitimate.
The major election interference and misinformation and disinformation has come from the left.
Yep. Right.
Vast majority, vast majority. All the lawfare we're seeing. You see the one attorney from the Southern District?
Mm. Yeah.
He was like, I love when they go, this is like breaking news. They all know that the charges against Trump that Bragg brought are bogus.
Right.
No blank, Sherlock.
Right. That guy was just talking away too. But he was, but you know what? When I was watching it, I'll just say this. He came off as credible, but it was also something we already knew. We can read Bragg easily.
Yeah.
Someone like Alvin Bragg is easy to read. But having somebody that's on the inside at one time on the inside there and look at that and point to it for what it is, and watching that video, that undercover video the other day, it's pretty telling. They know, and by the way, they're not, it's not, I don't know where that guy is politically. I don't know if he leans personally more conservative. I don't know. I have no idea. But what I can tell you is I do know plenty on the left know what's going on. They've seen what's going on. They have seen for years what is going on, and they are okay with it.
Yeah, well, we also know because we know the law.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We didn't need him to tell us. I mean, it verified the fact, but we knew it because we knew the the legal gymnastics that they were doing, that Bragg was doing, and everybody has done to try to get Trump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which is ridiculous.
And very easy to see.
Yeah, once you explain it to people, and I did bring that to my friend. He goes, well, the Trump stuff. I said, let's go through it. And when I went through New York law, I said, the New York law, the fraud case, for example, I said, under that fraud, where again, these were just appraisals. These were not where you signed at the bottom.
Right.
These are the facts and, under penalty of perjury, whatever.
Right.
Said there were appraisals which said, disclaimer, this is what we think it was worth. I said, you understand it. And he goes, oh my God, property tax. I said, yep. He knew it before I even said it. I said, yep. You argue with the government on property tax. You live in New York. We're in New York right now. That precedent has been set.
Every real estate agent on the planet
could
if you're going to apply it that way, you could apply it to every real estate agent.
And I said MSRP of vehicles. Nobody ever pays it.
Right.
So the number that they're putting out is fraudulent.
Right.
According to New York. He went, oh, my God, I never took it that far. I go,
right.
Well, that's what we do.
Right.
Basically telling him that's what we do on the show.
Right.
We extrapolate things out so precedent and what's being said by that.
Any negotiation whatsoever.
That's why he is the only person ever in New York to be prosecuted under that law.
Exactly.
Because it actually isn't a law and it's going to be overturned.
Right. And they know that.
They know that. They didn't care about that.
Nope.
All they cared about was, as the guy said, that attorney said who worked for the Southern District.
Yeah.
He goes, they just did it. They didn't care. They just did it because they wanted to say.
They want to get him.
They just want to say he's a felon. Didn't matter what happens afterwards.
Yep.
Oh, by the way, in that Mershon coming out, the first thing I said was, there it is.
Yep.
Right there. They finally realized all this blew up in their face.
Right.
And the American public understood lawfare. And when I talked to my friend, and again, he hadn't thought it all out. When I talked to my old friend and told him this, he goes, oh, my God, you're right.
Right.
Yeah, they're going after him. This is Banana Republic stuff.
Yes.
So anything you may dislike about Trump hasn't come close to this. On January 6th, it was a riot that went out of control.
Yeah. Right.
I wish his response would have been better, but if you want to you can try to make that response the same as the lawfare against him, or if you want to take the entire influence peddling of the Biden family, you take the entire thing. My God, Trump is an angel compared to that.
Oh, yeah. When you compare them, it's side by side. It's like, I'm sorry, what? And we've said over and over again, history will do that. Years from now, history will look back and go, what in the world? Why were they doing this to one guy?
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
It's a common road rumor that it's impossible for one-truck owner-operators and even carriers with just 2 or 3 trucks to get freight direct from the source, the shipper. Yet, hard-won experience from untold numbers of owner-operators with authority disproves the notion. Search your home base area and, later, frequent freight destinations to find all the manufacturers, distributors, and other shippers in the area. Once you get that list, ask yourself if those companies know who you are and what you do. If not, you're leaving opportunities on the table. Strive to own your backyard, to build a solid foundation for the business. For many a small fleet, it's the loads outbound from home that are the bread and butter. But you can take that same approach to the destination area, identifying shippers there and getting on the phone to make sure they know who you are and what you do. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more detail on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, so that was one of the things that I noticed last week was just people that I met, that, and I'll call them people off the streets, even though some of them were people that I was acquainted with, some I knew, but hadn't talked to about politics in the longest time, and they knew what I do for a living, so that's the first thing on their mind. But that was one of the things that I heard most was, wow. They keep talking about misinformation and disinformation and political interference, but they're the ones that are doing it.
Right. Well, and then when you pose that question to them, anytime it happens in the in the liberal media, especially, then they just want to change the topic. Well, let's move on to another. Yeah, you want to move on. You're not going to address it. They can't address it. They can't win this.
But they're the ones that keep talking about election interference.
Right.
They keep talking about misinformation and disinformation. And the independent out there is saying, yeah, but you guys are the biggest creators of misinformation and disinformation, especially this administration.
Right.
This is not your safe place. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. All right, you ready? Here we go. Meet the press, Bernie Sanders. Being asked the question. Now, we all know the flip-flops that nobody believes. Everyone knows, every Democrat knows that Kamala Harris is lying.
Yeah.
About immigration.
Yep.
All of her flip-flops, she's lying.
Yep.
She's not pro-fracking. All of these are lies. Every Democrat out there knows it.
Yep.
We know it. Bernie Sanders admitted it.
Vice President Kamala Harris as a progressive. She has previously supported Medicare for all. Now she does not. She's previously supported a ban on fracking. Now she does not. These, Senator, are ideas that you have campaigned on. Do you think that she is abandoning her progressive ideals?
No, I don't think she's abandoning her ideals. I think she's trying to be pragmatic and doing what she thinks is right in order to win the election.
She just wants to win. She's lying. He's not saying she's lying, but she's lying. Yeah. We all know she's lying.
So lying is now being pragmatic.
Yeah.
Let's jot that one down. Right. New liberal phrase. Being pragmatic means you're lying.
Yeah. Which means in the future, if Trump wins and he becomes president again, anytime they think he's lying, they just need to say he's being pragmatic.
He's being pragmatic, yes.
I'm sure they will.
I just love that.
I'm sure they'll stick to that.
I mean, that just went viral all over the place.
Yeah.
Well, because everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Everyone knows it. Because the thing is, if you truly have changed your position on things, you want to go out there to the American public and tell them why.
Right.
Look, here's what I've learned. Just because that's the thing, knowing that she's a weak candidate is where she should go out. And the campaign, knowing that she's a horrible weak candidate, should go out and say, no. Here's the reason. You changed this because, we're lying. You really haven't.
Right.
But you need to go out there and say, here's what I recognized. Here's where I recognized. Here why I saw, by the way, here's why I saw in this administration what didn't work. Yeah, was I the tying vote for things that I disagreed with? Yes, but I worked for this administration and have to carry out what this administration wanted to do.
Right.
Last week was a week to totally, completely separate yourself from Biden. Instead, she just throws it out there. Nobody believes it. She won't take any questions.
Right.
And then she brings Biden on the trail with her. I mean, people are, I said it the other day. So someone was saying that, because it was Trump talking about something, but I saw it and I said, no, that's no problem at all.
Right.
There are just, there's nothing that sticks at the end of the day for Trump. Now, I will say this. If you want to look at Trump from last week, it was really when he came out with the economic stuff. And, there was one on childcare. He wasn't specific enough. And I went, by the way, I'm not getting into the minutia of these things because I don't think they matter. I think that's all blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Well, our criticism is Trump wasn't specific enough on child care. Yeah. Blah, 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 blah.
Right.
The one that I think probably it didn't hurt at all. I think it helped was when he talked about, because something my father brought up. He goes, I saw he wants Elon Musk to do something about efficiency and how we can do things better to quit wasting money and get somebody in there from the actual private sector to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, yeah, that I'm not against that. If the Wall, I'll put it that way. I said, I'm not against that. The Wall Street Journal said it was a good idea. And then the other thing is, and this is all inside Washington stuff, though, the whole thing on the, what do you call it? The fund. The fund, the Sovereign Wealth Fund that he was talking about. And when he said that, I just went, all right, I understand why you did it. We can take all the money from oil and natural gas, and we can have money for a rainy day because other countries do it and states do it. And I went, yeah, never going to happen.
Yeah.
And we can talk about it if you want to, but it's never going to happen. And that's how I'm looking at things right now. I'm looking at things, okay, what gets them the win? Because to me, this is not about the everyday issues. It's not. Both, no matter who gets into office, they're going to be limited in what they can spend in the future because of the debt that we have right now, the incredible debt that we have right now, and the fact that there just isn't any more money, and there's nowhere to get the money that they need for what they wish to spend it on. So Trump's going to be limited. If he decides to be a moderate to spend more money, he's going to find he's limited, and he's going to be limited by his own party, though. And you're going to have the Democrats may try to do it, but then there comes inflation again.
Well, and that's the problem that the Republicans, anybody that's going to try and come in and actually undo the damage of Biden, I don't think Kamala Harris would be that person. She's going to keep doing what she and her party want to do. But the problem is, if she were to win, I'm not convinced there would be this massive blue wave big enough for the Democrats to get spending done. And that's going to be a problem for if she were to win. Trump wins and the Republicans win if they take the House or keep the House and take the Senate. Austerity is painful. I don't even know that you can get to true austerity. You just have to slow your roll a bit, and even that politically is going to be hard to get away with.
Yeah.
We said it. Who was it? Was it Rick Scott that said
Oh, yeah.
at the midterm?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Talking about, cutting spending. And it's like, whoa. You can't even talk about that with you. We agree. We're going to have to fix this. But in order to do it, you have to build a consensus, not just within your party. You have to build a consensus nationwide. You're going to have to campaign on this after you win to get something done. It's not going to be overnight. In fact, I don't know that you get it done in 4 years.
Well, the problem that Republicans have is also a problem that Democrats have, and we saw it in California last week, as I started the show out with, because that's what got me roaring with laughter, because it was if you wanted the perfect example of liberalism in 2024, the perfect example, look no further than California.
Yeah.
And the beginning of last week, and maybe it was the end of the week before, I don't know exactly the timeline on it, where the two bills for cash reparations stalled. No cash reparations. Now, you were here, and we were all in hysterical laughing when it started out, I think, at $260,000 per eligible reparations recipient, and then it went to $1 million, then $5 million, and then $20 million, and then finally someone out there actually was trying to get $200 million per recipient. And we saw all these figures, and people, you had accountants figuring it out and saying, well, my God, California would go bankrupt 10 times over.
Right.
And we kept saying, there's no money, there's no money, there's no money, there's no money. And so then you get to last week where it's like you had the reparations activists out there. And when I was on vacation, I saw this just in my normal activity from watching, the mainstream media news at night that I really never watch, ABC, NBC, CBS. And they're on it like crazy with we demand reparations. We demand the money. You promised us the money, and now it's not. And then right around the same time, California passes the law for $150,000 for illegal immigrants to buy a new home, up to $150,000.
Right.
And by Friday, Newsom comes out. And by the way, the reparations activists were livid about that. We don't get our money, but illegal immigrants do.
Right.
And then by the time we get to Friday, Gavin Newsom vetoes the bill for $150,000 because liberals have spent all the money. There is no money. They keep putting promises out there that they can't pay for. They keep telling people, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. If you want a microcosm of what's going to happen in the United States, that's what's eventually going to happen.
Promise. There's no way you can deliver.
Yep.
And that is really it. But it is that blue bubble of California that Newsom has lived in for the longest time. And the Democrats nationally have lived inside a bubble to a certain degree where, again, things were in the abstract. Well, they were until all of a sudden you pushed it over the edge and a generation for the first time sees massive inflation. This generation doesn't know because these are not adults who were even kids like us or young back when inflation was hitting late 70s, early 80s. They weren't around then. They don't. And now their parents, they own a home. They have to provide groceries. They have to. Well, you've basically taken everything. The left has taken everything from the abstract and created the reality that we've been warning about for years. And you can't escape reality. You can't. It doesn't matter what you do. You're going to run into these issues every single day. But the Democrats are acting like we're still in the abstract politically, that you can say, well, if we just do these things or just do these things, when everybody knows, no, we're drowning. You can't do that anymore.
Well, that was when they were coming up with the amounts, and it was like, look, the money doesn't matter. The fact is we have to do it no matter how we do it, and we're screaming at them, you're not going to be able to do it.
Right.
The money isn't there.
Yeah.
You can't do it. You can't do it. But Newsom got the panel all going and everything else. Well, no, we're going to do different things.
Right.
In fact, we're not going to help you. How can we help the criminal who's in jail?
Right.
I mean, that's what they basically
Exactly.
I mean, it's just, Mike, it's just completely and totally insane. But to have the confluence of events last week, where the reparations stalled and the activists were going crazy, and it's like, sorry, we don't have the money. There isn't the money to do it in California. We're running this huge deficit. We've raised taxes as much as we can raise it.
Yeah.
We can't do this. We can't do this. And then at the same time, $150,000 for illegal immigrants to buy a home.
Why not?
And then the reparations activists going bat soup crazy on it.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but if they can't come up with the reparations, they can't come up with $150,000. Newsom's going to veto that by the end of the week. He vetoes it by the end of the week, saying we can't do anything that we promised because we don't have the money, because as liberals, we've spent all the money and more.
Right.
Perfect analogy for liberalism in 2024, California last week. Perfect.
Well, was it San Francisco, the mayor's office? We can't even have our reparations office because we don't have the money to run the office to start looking into reparations. Wow. But you know what? It should happen anyway. We should do it. One day we'll do it. I won't be in office, but one day it's the right thing to do. We can't do it. It's the right thing to do, but we still can't do it.
It's the other analogy we always talked about. It was the guy that owned the pizza place.
Oh, yeah.
That I'm going to pay more than minimum wage. I'm going to raise this. And the left went, this guy, this is what we need. This is what we need. A couple of months later, we're cutting out lunch because we can't afford to serve it. And then he closed down the business completely. Everybody was out of a job, and he said, "But I still did the right thing."
Right.
How?
How does that work? How does that work?
How do you argue with that?
Well, during that time, did he send out coupons to charge more for his pizzas? Hey, pay 20% more with this coupon. I mean, it's such backwards thinking, I can't wrap my brain around it. Still the right thing to do. You mean put all of your people out of a job completely? Wow.
I know. Nuts. 866-98-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So overall, last week, just looking at it as a whole, I won't go day by day because I was on vacation, but overall, I didn't see where Trump was being criticized by, at the end of the day, where it was all about Trump having to defend himself.
Right. Yeah.
And anything out there that happened ended up the media having to reverse and go, okay, that's, okay, we're dropping this headline,
right.
as AP did with the J.D. Vance story about shootings, and I think Trump with the economic policies again didn't do himself any damage. I think people looked at it and said, okay, he's got a plan. There's things he wishes to do. He may not be able to get to do them all, but hey, he's talking about cutting taxes, getting rid of regulations,
right.
getting Elon Musk in there to get out the inefficiencies in government, and so overall, I thought it was. Again, Harris is on the defensive every single day because she won't do interviews.
Yeah, it seems like
That's
her
the
entire
problem.
campaign is on the defensive. Yeah.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. We are Eric Harley over there, Gary McNamara here.
Hello.
Just briefly here because I thought it was interesting. And what I probably wouldn't not have even brought it up, but I saw on social media the debates going back and forth. Because I think that Trump did good last week on bringing up some of the economic plans that he wants to do.
Yeah.
But what got a lot of note was the sovereign wealth fund. You've got states that have it. State of Texas. I think Alaska does, right? Energy and Norway, and this is where they take something like energy and they tax it and they put that into a specific fund for a rainy day, basically a rainy day fund.
Yeah.
And Trump was talking about the same thing and talked about tariffs and other ways, and if we develop all of our energy usage. And so it was, again, you didn't get a lot of specifics like, okay, we could raise $2 trillion or $3 trillion here or do this. And here's, before we go into whether it would work or not, or whether you need it, or whether I give a damn whether Norway does something.
That's the thing that got me.
Right.
Well, Norway. Oh, well, now you've convinced me.
And by the way, that was coming from people that supported Trump and the plan.
I
that
know.
It used to be the left was saying, but Norway does it.
Right.
Therefore, we need to do it.
Right.
Everything is, excuse my language, everything is ass backwards.
It is.
The Cheneys are loved by the Democrats.
Are you kidding me?
Republicans are saying, but Norway's doing it. It's like, It's like, where?
I think Chuck Todd was wearing a Halliburton T-shirt over the weekend, wasn't he? No. No, maybe I had that wrong. Maybe I have that wrong. I might have that wrong. That could be a rumor I started just moments ago.
Here is the major reason that I'm against a sovereign wealth fund, which would be a separate fund. Forget about whether the fact that money should go to pay off the debt,
Right.
whether you should have a fund that the government invests in order to have money for a rainy day. Well, as we find out, we always have money for a rainy day. You just print it up here. The federal government has the ability to do it.
Why not?
States don't have the ability to do it, and energy states especially, if they can, have a rainy day fund, because for their population, the amount of money that's brought in can be significant. And in Norway, for example, they don't have a huge population, but they do have an energy sector.
Right.
And so, but for a United States to do it, you know what? The number one reason I'm against it? So you've got, all right, here we go. You've got the regular budget over here.
Yeah.
And then you've got the sovereign wealth fund.
Yeah.
And now that's trillions of dollars, hypothetically. And now Democrats have the House, the Senate, and the executive branch.
Yeah.
That's why I would never want a sovereign wealth fund. That's reason number one. You cannot debate my concern over that.
Right.
It is impossible.
Yeah.
You can say, but Norway. Did you have the same reaction I did then when you saw that? But Norway.
Yeah, but Norway. Oh, well, now. Why didn't you just start with Norway? I would have been on board from the beginning. That's insane. It really is.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
But let me go back. I do not want to use a crude language again. Posterior backwards.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, don't say ass backwards again.
Okay. I know people are very sensitive to language.
We're using our tokens. Both of them for the entire year in one segment. Yeah. All right, fine.
Did you guys use the A word when discussing finances of the country? No, we didn't use not autonomy, austerity.
No, we didn't use austerity. We wouldn't say austerity on the air. What are you, crazy?
But that's the one reason that sovereign wealth fund is sort of like Medicare for all. We can't do Medicare for some.
Exactly.
Medicare
some
for
Medicare
all.
For some. Yeah.
Yeah, we can do some Medicare for some.
Yeah. And we're not even getting that right, but.
Right, and that's when you put money in. But no, the last thing I would want to do is to give the federal government a sovereign wealth fund and Democrats be in control of it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because what it becomes then, it becomes what we've seen everything. It turns to manure. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to use the other word for that.
Cow pie?
Posterior residue.
You keep walking up to the edge. You keep walking right up to the edge, guys. Stop it.
What are you guys, Red Eye Stern?
Yeah. If either one of you say Baba Booey on the air, you're done. Okay, fine.
So, no, that's why I would be against the sovereign wealth fund. Democrats in control.
Yeah, exactly. Well, but, I mean, seriously, think about that. Look, here's what I would say. We should, as a nation, be in a place where we could look at having extra money. Which wouldn't be extra money because then you could lower taxes and then greatly reduce the size of government. See where I'm going? We should be producing so much as a nation. The problem is that you're just not going to, the sovereign wealth fund, rainy day fund. States have that because the federal government, states like Texas have that because you can't rely on the federal government for all of your funding. you're going to have to do something,
and you can't go into debt.
And you can't go into debt. You can't. There's you don't have an option. It would be great to expand wealth to such a great extent. We're looking around, going, "What do we do with all this money?" And the fact of the matter is that, of course, then the federal government shouldn't have that money to begin with, because if we're producing to that extent and our national debt's paid off, now quit laughing. Quit laughing. We know it's not going to happen. But if that were the case, we pay down all of our national debt, everything was balanced and everything else, then, of course, then you could easily get to the point of reducing the size of government. And that's what nobody wants to hear.
Wait a minute. If we balance the budget, then I'd really be against a sovereign wealth fund.
Exactly. Well, because then you're taking money for no purpose.
Right.
It's a rainy day. Well, what do you mean? We're just taking it, because we're used to taking it. I mean, it would be there would be zero purpose for having it. I'd love to be at a point where we paid off the debt, and then someone said, "Hey, now we could have one." Then we could step up and go, "Well, no, you can't, because now that's my money, and it's always been my money. But now you're taking my money for zero purpose. What? And you need to greatly reduce the, because we would be at the point, in order to get to that point of, again, the national debt being gone, balancing the budget, and greatly reducing the size of government, there would be nobody around to promote such an idea on the federal level, because we'd have maybe half a dozen people working inside the Beltway. Okay, a full dozen if you include the very talented crew, a couple of dozen, the very talented crew at WMAL. But everybody else would be gone. And that's, that would be a great point to get to. And that unicorn doesn't exist, because we're not to the point of, look, we got to get to the point of starting with the job number one. And we talked about last hour what, the whole idea of bringing up the A word, austerity. And you're not going to bring prices down regardless of what you do. Prices are going to remain steady. We're not going to get to the point of true deflation. It's just that prices are going to be where they are now. They're still going to be, people are still going to be underwater unless you expand their wealth, which means the wealth of everyone, the entire nation. And in order to do that, we have to get to an energy policy that is not insane, get back to doing what we do best, taking things out of the ground, processing them, and using them as energy. And as we create more efficiencies, the private sector will figure that out. We don't give the private sector money and throw money down the toilet for companies that are just because we're pretending to be green, whatever that is anymore. And we really have to be in a place as a nation. Everybody has to see that vision together. The left has done a very good job at demonization. The demonization of capitalism, or as I call it, the original crowdfunding, and the demonization of traditional forms of energy. Anything that was working for us before. Yeah, but you don't care about the planet. Shut up. You mean the one I live on? And these are what they have done effectively for decades through lying over and over again. In 1989, if you work inside the Beltway, by the year 2000, you'll have to take a gondola to work. These are the things that they have said over and over again, and kick the goalpost, move the goalpost and down, not even down further within the same field. It's in a different state now over and over again, because they know they can't win the argument. They can't prove it. You saw the stories. Hottest year on record. And how long have we been keeping record as opposed to how long the Earth has been around? We can get into these discussions, but they don't want to do it. Remember, all the times where there's been an opportunity for debate, and we've said it over the years, we're talking scientists, not lawmakers, not personalities, scientists on each side of the debate. If the world is actually coming to an end, shouldn't we my gosh, that would be the only primetime show you should have on television or streaming right now. It should be that and that only, at least once a week. That debate should continue, and yet the side that's screaming...
Never had a debate.
The side that's screaming that it's happening will not debate. Yep. Remind you of any current nominees of the Democratic Party?
Yeah, because remember the think tank that tried to set up the debate?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they had the one side, and they thought they had a debate, and then the
last minute,
the proponents of climate change that were in a climate crisis refused to debate.
Right.
Why do Democrats, and you see it here, there should have been 3 debates.
Yep.
Normally there is.
Right.
You know, you have one on foreign policy, you have one on domestic issues, and you have a general.
Right.
One. We've always had 3 debates. Democrats don't want to debate.
Right, yeah.
And we asked the question to Democrats many times, why don't you want to debate? We know you don't answer that question because we do it for you. Mm-hmm. Because you know the American public doesn't support what you truly believe, which is what we've seen the last 3.5 years.
Right.
This is what they truly believe. The border is what they truly believe.
Right.
They know they can't sell the American public on it. Did you see the CBS poll on the swing states, on the economy for Trump? Oh, I mean, just massive.
Yeah.
Landslide numbers.
And that's everything to everybody. I mean, it's every day. You know, went into the grocery store. It was pretty late. It was about 15 minutes before they closed the other night, Saturday evening. And had to pick up some things. And it wasn't much. But it was $100. And I thought to myself, you know, there are families, you and I are older, and people in our age group quite often have gotten to a point in our career or our lives and our savings or whatever it is where we can afford a little more. And we're not having to feed babies, anymore and that kind of thing. And I see people in this store and I'm thinking to myself, everybody here is having to make a choice. A number of choices every single day. And it was a choice that we made to get us here. This is all by choice. None of this happened as some kind of massive natural disaster.
Nope. Everything, all the major problems we have as the United States, every single one that we have was choices that we made.
Yep.
The problems that we have in society are our fault.
Yes. Yep.
No, wait a minute. Your fault.
They're everybody else's fault. By the way, did you have the urge?
And everybody listening to it's not your fault either.
Yeah, you're right. Did you have the urge to get a megaphone and go out in your backyard while on vacation and just scream, "We're doomed"?
I was
because we couldn't do this at night.
Friday night was really tough.
Yeah.
By the time I got to Friday, I was sitting on my recliner going through TV channels, like I can't do this.
No,
I can't. I can't do
maddening.
this. And it's like, go out. I don't want to go out. I just want to get back on the air again. That's all I wanted to do.
Exactly.
But I was Wednesday was bad. Thursday was worse than Friday.
Yeah.
Sitting in your house on the recliner, sober.
Yeah. See, that's the thing about vacation. There's a lot less alcohol involved when we're here. Yeah.
Exactly.
Now management is really going to send a memo.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, I have it here. Choice for president, economy, a major factor. Michigan, 58-42 in favor of Trump. Likely voters. Pennsylvania, 58-42, Trump. Wisconsin, 57-42. Major, huge. And those, remember, these are swing states.
Yep.
These are the battleground states.
Yep.
And you and I have always said it. It's like if he wins Pennsylvania, he wins.
Yeah.
Because if he wins Pennsylvania, if you have numbers that are similar in all the battleground states, and Pennsylvania, now is trending towards Trump, and he wins Pennsylvania, he wins those other states.
Yep. Yeah. It's. There's also so much that look, the sit-down interview for Kamala Harris didn't help her.
No.
The debate stage is potentially another liability for her campaign. I said it earlier, but it bears repeating here. The one thing about Biden is he didn't lack confidence, even though he lacked the ability to speak. She lacks the ability and lacks the self-confidence. Biden would go out there and he didn't care. He didn't think that he had any flubs or any gaffes and didn't care if he did. Yeah. His confidence never waned in that regard.
Right.
With her, she has zero confidence in her ability to go out and speak.
She knows it.
She knows it.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today. Listen when and where you choose. It's going to take us 2 weeks to catch up on last week.
Yeah, it will. It actually will.
We know that Judge Mershon and we know that Bragg went to him and said they wanted to delay the sentencing of Trump, and so now that's delayed till after the election. And first thing I thought of was, yep, because we had talked about this beforehand. We expected that Mershon would do this.
Yeah.
That he would delay it. Number one, he's done almost everything that Bragg has wanted him to do. But number two, the reason that Bragg, as we've said, wanted the sentencing delayed is now they believe that lawfare has benefited Trump, and they don't know how to get out of it.
Right.
And so they realized they blew it. Let's go to Jonathan Turley. He talked about that late last week when that came out that Mershon, I think it's some time in November 18th or something, they moved it back to the actual sentencing.
Right. Yeah.
Now, this ruling is going to have an impact in the sense that many people, I think, correctly viewed New York as lawfare, correctly viewed this as a political case. Any sentencing that Mershon would have come down with, I think, would have not been particularly welcome by most of the public. It would have reminded them of this campaign against the former president. So in some ways, I think the Harris campaign is probably celebrating that they won't have that attention on the Manhattan case.
Really something here. Just looking for more out of the letter itself and the implications for the case going forward. Jonathan, I'm sure you've had a chance to see it by now. But using the words and phrases like wanted to avoid the appearance of, however unwarranted, that proceeding had been, that this had been affected by the election. That's interesting, right? And not like we have heard that from this judge before.
No, I mean, look, I support, was not one of those that was piling on Mershon, but I have to say, after sitting in his courtroom, I was very surprised in what I thought was a one-sided approach to that trial. It reminded me of an old judge who used to say his defense ready to present its case and then say, are the prosecutors ready to present our case? I mean, there was, in my view, a lack of balance there. We have not heard this type of language from Mershon, and he refused to do things during the trial that could have accommodated the environment in which the trial was occurring, including a gag order that I think was excessive. And the irony, of course, was that the former president's polls went up when he was gagged, partially, I think, because people saw the unfairness, partially because he sort of stayed on script. But that may have weighed in all of this. Mershon actually witnessed how his conduct at the trial itself, worked in Trump's favor. That would have been nothing in comparison to what would have happened if he sentenced Trump to home confinement or to jail. I think Mershon was aware of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we had said that when Bragg did it, because there was no reason for them to delay it. None. They didn't care about election interference.
Nope.
They care less about it.
Nope.
This was all political. They realized that lawfare bit them in the butt.
Yep. And I think they thought that it was going to go completely the opposite direction. But again, you live inside that bubble. You're in New York. You're Alvin Bragg. You're Mershon. Look at what they did, how they acted all along the way, both of them acting in tandem to make that prosecution happen, to make that guilty verdict come down. No one has ever seen anything like it. They clearly thought it was going to have a positive outcome for them politically, and there was going to be a big New York City parade for Alvin Bragg, and Mershon would be driving the vehicle that Bragg is sitting in the back of, and they're all waving, and big parade float or whatever. They thought they were going to be heroes. Then the party that day when it came down, I told a friend of mine who, by the way, is a liberal, this is going to backfire. His fundraising right now, I couldn't even see it. In fact, it wasn't even being reported. His fundraising is going through the roof right now, and I was right on that. And I said, this is going to backfire on them tremendously. And they got to the point they were saying convicted felon for a short period, and the Democrats then realized they couldn't even say that. Why? Because they were building a bigger martyr. Every step along the way, they didn't see it. They thought it was going to be a completely different outcome. And now you have it. Now you see it. Now it's clear. They understood. They understand what they did.
Also, it happened last week. Mark Cubin's gold medal mental gymnastics.
Yeah, exactly.
On the Harris tax plan. Listen to this. This was on CNBC last week. I'm telling you, he's just flailing, and he's on social media now. He's on X every single day. Now, he is hitting some specific points that I would agree with him on some of Trump's economic plans. But the fact is, he is criticizing Trump while not criticizing the much more without question, socialist, communist Harris tax plan.
Right.
But this one was on unrealized gains. And it was like, where do you stand, Mark, on this? It's like you couldn't figure it out. Here we go.
There's a whole bunch of folks in the Valley who I've been in touch with in the past week on this unrealized tax issue, gain issue, and where we've talked about, those who are taking loans against their unrealized stock, et cetera, et cetera. And then they say, well, if you start to tax that, we won't be able to make investments in startups. We won't be able to give money over to venture capitalists and private equity folks and other things like that. What's your feedback to that distinction,
So I'll
because
tell
I
you
wonder,
exactly what
once
I
there's a
told them.
critique of one, then of one policy, and you get rid of that policy, then of course it moves to the critique of the next version of it.
Well, of course, but okay. So what I told him was, if you tax unrealized gains, you're going to kill the stock market.
Okay, let's hold it there, okay? So
Yeah,
just
right.
stop it there. So we would agree with him on that.
Yep.
Now let's see where this goes, all right?
Right.
Here's where it gets fun. All right, here we go.
Right, and it's going to be the ultimate employment plan for private equity, because companies are not going to go public because you can get whipsawed, right? I mean, my own personal experience back from the internet days, right? All of a sudden, I was cash poor, but equity rich, right? My net worth was enormous, but the number of dollars in the bank wasn't enormous, and so I'd have, based off of the unrealized gains, I would have had to borrow money, and I effectively would have been in hock just to pay my tax bill instead of trying to run my company, and 1,000 other reasons, right? So they realize that's the issue. I can't repeat it enough. Even though she's not directly conflicting the Biden tax plan, to her value proposition is we need to tax everybody fairly. I'm starting from the Biden plan as a starting point, but that's not necessarily her ending
Mark,
point.
let me just say, I appreciate you calling in, telling us what you're hearing on these fronts. That's great. But as you've said yourself, you can't speak for the vice president. These are things they're telling you. Who knows what they're telling other people? My guess is they're telling anybody who's donating to them exactly what they want to hear at this point. What matters is what they say publicly and what they will stick to.
No, absolutely, positively not. Right. Let me just be very
I don't know.
clear.
Like, why do you think that they're telling you the truth and not telling other people other things?
Well,
if they won't say it publicly, say it publicly. Tell all of us so that we can hold you to it.
I get it, but you've got to get the details right. You can't just.
Yeah, but we have 60 days till an election. Like, you're asking people to take a
even
flyer.
Even if it's the day before the election, right? Even if it's the day before. Look, the next question is, the second thing I was going to mention it earlier.
I just don't want everybody to trade on what we think and what we feel and what we think may happen.
He's flailing in the water. He's basically saying her tax plan is wrong, but this is just the beginning point of it.
Well, if the beginning point of it is wrong, everything else that follows is going to be wrong.
Wrong, exactly. I mean, I'm telling you, and last week, I have to say this because based on what Mark Cubin was saying, he's questioning Trump's cognitive abilities. Mm-hmm. I am now, after hearing that and other things, I am questioning Mark Cubin's cognitive abilities right now.
Yeah, because he's scrambling.
He's scrambling.
He's all over the place.
I mean, he just
all over the place.
He disagrees with her economic policy completely.
Yeah. Yeah.
But says this is just a starting point, and even if we get what the plan is, even the day before the election, that is such a load of horse manure, Cubin. I mean, I heard that, I'm like, my God, he's flailing in the water.
If her campaign came out and said, we'll be announcing our economic plan November 4th. Can you imagine? By the way, she hasn't even done that much. There's the problem.
No.
But wait,
no.
Well, there's the issue that they have with her in general. They're scrambling to defend something she's not even talking about because she's not talking
about it. Yeah, exactly. So you've got to get things right. Mark, she's running for president of the United States. Well, she's got to get it right. So even if it's the day before, Mark Cubin, shut up. You're making an idiot of yourself.
Right. I mean, it's so insane.
It is. I mean, I saw that a couple of days ago. I'm like, what in the hell is going on in his brain? And then he was questioning Trump's cognitive abilities. I'm now questioning Mark Cubin's cognitive abilities.
Right. I mean, it's scrambling like I've never seen.
Yeah. By the way, and I'm doing this based on Mark Cubin's standard. I want to make this clear.
We believe
I'm questioning Trump's cognitive abilities, as I was late last week.
Because we believe, at least up until recently, Mark Cuban is not stupid. But,
right.
So this reeks of some kind of desperation.
Yeah. Either desperation or cognitive abilities.
It's one of the two.
One of the two, yep. And he's just getting killed on social media.
Yeah.
So what he's doing is he's starting to set the narrative on certain things that he disagrees with Trump and that are actually right.
Right, yeah.
But you have people that, you have, and so it's going where he is starting the argument. But if you just go on the policies, because as you know, we don't agree fully with Trump's economic policies in the past that he has held.
Right, yeah.
They're not conservative enough for us.
Right.
But that's not what this election is about. So he's trying to pick and choose here. The election isn't about the day-to-day politics. It's not anymore.
No,
it's about lawfare. It's about the weaponization of government. That's what it's about.
Yep. That's really where we are.
That's where we are right now. Yeah. But the fact that Cubin went on CNBC and he's that unprepared, that his excuse was she has to get things right. And so the Biden point is her starting off point. Shut up! This isn't an interview for a beginning accountant.
Well, no, that's exactly where I was about to go. I've been saying for a while now that her campaign feels like it's in exploratory committee mode, which is where you need to be 2 years ahead.
That's where Cubin
is. This is first grader who one day wants to be the president mode.
Yeah. And Cubin's defending
and Cubin is defending her
right.
and trying to teach the class to a first grader of where to go when they're eligible years later. I can't measure that kind of
just
bad.
I know.
It's horrible.
866-98-RED-EYE.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
Hey, it's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I mean, it's just really insane. I was thinking about that on Friday when I was just couldn't find anything to watch, and my mind was just full of so much to talk about.
Yeah.
It's like I haven't even, you and I talked about it. I have all of the articles and everything else that you and I have, looked at over the last 10 days sitting here. We haven't gotten to any of it yet.
It's so much, it's impossible to catch up on everything.
I know. But it's all insane right now.
And
has been for
a while.
Yes,
it has been for a while.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA. Hi, we're Red Eye Radio. Well, actually, we're not a Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara, and he's Eric Harley.
We're people.
We're people.
We are humans.
See, we understand. I don't mean to get into McCain-Feingold again, but, well, you guys shouldn't have freedom of speech because a Red Eye Radio shouldn't have freedom of speech. Yeah, but we're two human beings, and we're part of Red Eye Radio. That's not the point. The point is you said Red Eye Radio has freedom of speech.
Okay, we need to just say it.
Shut up.
Nope. We are the machine. We are what created AI.
Oh.
We are everything. We are everywhere. We are.
One of our listeners, was it on Twitter? I can't remember now.
It wasn't on TikTok.
I think
I can tell you that.
It was on. It was about Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
And somebody, let me just go back and see if it's in there, because it was just, I went, whoa, wow, great memory, and just went after him because of it. Talked about his socialism, Marxism, and everything else, and I forgot what it was, but it was just, I go, oh, somebody remembers when we were talking about that, because as we've said, they're now Rage for the Machine.
Yeah, right.
The same thing with Green Day out there. They act as revolutionaries when really, what is a revolutionary? As I've always said, a revolutionary is somebody who has, somebody who believes they have, total autonomy, and they reject the lies from government.
Yeah.
And they don't believe that government is the solution to everything, because actually the machine is government. And so if we're raging against a machine, who's a machine? A bunch of autonomous people that may agree on things. Oh, okay. Really?
Yeah. Yeah,
that's where we're going.
They're now raging for the machine, very clearly, and have been for quite some time.
Oh, that's the other thing. Did anybody else think it? Because you saw the Green Day story where they ran off stage because there was an unauthorized drone. So Green Day, at that, wherever they were playing, had the security to know that there was an unauthorized drone in an area and to clear the stage immediately. But do I have to go any further? Secret Service, former president, do I have to go any further? Do we get the message already?
Call Green Day, get their security, see if they want to work Secret Service. It's insane.
What?
It is insane. It is part of this massive insanity. This goes so far beyond Trump derangement syndrome. It really, it's that doesn't even sum it up. Derangement is included. It's all out insanity. It really is. All of it. When they write this, when somebody writes it down and puts it all in chronological order, but includes everything going back from the beginning of 2016 through whenever the story ends, history will look at that and go, you've got to be kidding me. This never happened. This is fiction. It's that insane. And it really is, it's probably going to have the left saying by then, oh, we never did that. Oh, no. Someone used AI to write this story. It didn't happen that way. I mean, revisionist history is nothing new to them. So why not? Erase everything else. It is that bad right now. And it has been for a while. There are two conclusions to this, this idea that this is a close election right now. That either tells you that, number one, the polls are way off. Or number two, people are that delusional. I can't tell you. We'll see after the election, after the votes are counted, sometime in summer of 25. Because otherwise, you tell me how all of this happened the way it happened, and this is a close election. You have to have a significant portion of the country that is delusional. If it is close, that's the only way it happens. Just live in that delusional state and write everything else off.
It's an interesting, I think, sociological debate to have, because I can tell you precisely. You and I were playing a off the air because it was there was profanity in it, but I was just looking at some of the stuff because I had asked you earlier, and hopefully we'll get to it today or tomorrow. Some of the Bill Maher stuff, and I asked you. I said, "Does Bill Maher purposely play stupid?" But it's where he had a guest back in I believe it was February, and he was saying how much he loved Newsom because he's a winner. What do you mean he's a winner? Well, he can win elections, and if he runs for president, then he'll be forced to move to the center.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell does that mean? He goes, well, tell me one thing that he's done. And he couldn't name one thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And most people that are closest to me, because you don't go through it with everybody in your life, but the people that are closest to me, and I get this all the time, they say, not only do you tell me why you like me or love me, you tell me specifically why. There are character traits. I'll look at somebody, I go, I really like you because of this, this, and this, and because you do this, and because you do that. I can articulate it. It's something that's natural to me. I think that, and I get that from a lot of conservatives. You know what I like about you? This, 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 this. I don't like, what I don't like about you? This, 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 and this.
Yeah.
They actually observe, they analyze, and through their mind, and then they're able to throw back at you, here's why I like you specifically.
Right.
But when I saw that with Bill Maher, I just went, and you and I, again, I'm not going to play it. There was too much cursing in it, but it was, like I said, from last February. I was taken back a little bit by it. I went, wow, here's somebody who speaks for a living. You see the pre-written thing that he does, the stand-up comedy thing, which you say, wow, this guy's really smart. And then you get him just to ad lib, and he can't even tell you why he likes Gavin Newsom.
Right.
I can tell you, any politician you bring up to me, I can tell you specifically why I like them, and the things I liked about them, and the things I specifically do not like about them based on the issues. I don't have to go into it because everyone knows that you and I do that every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that gets us in trouble at times because there are some that believe, the tribalism exists. You either are all in for a candidate on everything that they believe or you hate them.
Right.
And it's like, well, no, that's stupid.
Right.
That's ridiculous. But you and I you can name any politician. I go, this, and this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And to see that from somebody like Bill Maher, I really believe what you and I discovered years ago. When we said, when we were just contemplating why any opinion we have, the left says it's racist or it's something ist. We said, why do they think that? But especially the racism part of it.
Mm-hmm.
How do they think that? How did they get to that point? And then one day we realized, well, that's how they think. They're the ones that practice identity politics.
Yeah.
They're the ones that judge people by groups and not individuals. We don't. So they think that way. We assume that everybody processes thoughts the way that we do. And I know people have asked, before, have asked us before, why do you guys have good chemistry? And to me, the answer is simple. We may not have we probably agree on most things.
Mm-hmm.
But even if we don't, I know exactly how you got there.
Yeah.
And
Right.
So we process thoughts the same way.
Right.
I look at somebody like Bill Maher who could not answer the question, why do you think, give me one example of, why would you vote for him? What great thing has he done? He couldn't name anything. Yet he's willing to, I'm all in. This is a guy. And he admitted, well, yeah, if he ran for president, then he'd have to move to the center. So what you're saying is that you want a candidate who's not going to tell you the truth in order to get elected.
Yeah.
Well, who wants that?
And
Why?
you're okay with that? Yeah.
Because the only I'm not voting because I like anybody.
No.
I'm voting for that person to do my bidding. That's it. If they don't do my bidding on the big issues, now I know I'm not going to agree with them all the time.
Right.
But I don't view them as somebody, I don't know them.
Yep.
And so I vote for them to get a particular job done. It's very cold and calculated for me. There is not a lot of, oh, I love this candidate. Oh. I don't do that because we've seen that you can have an entire party like somebody one day, Liz Cheney, Dick Cheney, and the next day they don't.
Right.
But on Liz Cheney, what was it about?
Well, for her, it really is about her hatred for Trump.
Yeah. It was a hatred for Trump and the fact that she was promoting that she was doing something that was above board and honest and had transparency and that was fair, and that was a complete lie, and we tore that apart on her. So we disliked her. I had no dislike for her 15 years ago.
No.
And why do I have dislike for her now? Why would I not vote for her? Why will we go after her? And I don't know her as a person. She seems awfully angry, though. Awfully angry. I dislike her because of the stands, because of what she said she was doing, and it was a lie. That's why I dislike Liz Cheney.
Yeah, I can't respect that kind of behavior. The repeated behavior, pattern of behavior that's now gone on for years.
And when she became a pawn for the Democrats and then claimed that they were part of a fair analysis of Donald Trump at that point, when evidence that they wished to submit was not allowed and cross-examination was not allowed of their witnesses, then don't tell me it's a fair process.
Right.
And that's where she lied. That's simple.
Yep.
End of story.
Yep.
It's not complicated.
Nope.
But you and I can explain it. And what you find out are there are so many people that can't even explain why the hell they're going to vote for a particular person. I find that incredible in the human species. You would think that we have evolved enough.
Well, you really would.
Where everybody could sort of observe and explain
but
why they like something or a person or a candidate.
But you go back to the very basics. Tell me the three branches of government and how many millions of Americans, voters, can't do it. So what do they think this is? Do they believe it's the equivalent of, because here's the one thing too that kind of hit me over and over again on vacation. How much people make things about themselves. And it's all about virtue signaling. Social media presence is all about virtue signaling in some way. And trying to, it's driven heavily on emotion. And if you can't tell someone what the three branches of government are, then you have no idea how those roles are defined. You have no idea why you're voting. So you really don't care. That's how it becomes nothing more, nothing less than a popularity contest. And it's not even that, because they don't even know these people. It's which one looks better, which one seems cooler.
No, I think I think that's a great way to put it. I haven't heard it put that exact way. That it's about me. It's actually not about the candidate. It's how I can virtue signal to you that I'm better because I'm with her.
Right. Exactly.
Because otherwise there is no logical, critical thinking that is coming out of them saying, well, I like them on specifically this. Now, if you came out and said, I like Kamala Harris because she wants abortion till birth. I would disagree with it, but I could understand it. But that's your issue. You're one.
Yeah.
What about the other issues? I don't have any other issues.
So for those who are acting primarily on the virtue signaling front, it's a popularity contest, but it's not about between the two the two contestants here, the two nominees. It's about their own popularity.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I don't know how to change that. I don't know if you can. Because if they're not willing to learn what the roles of government are, then they don't care.
Well, one of the things that drives us crazy. Wow, we need to vote against Donald Trump to protect the Constitution. Well, but you don't believe in the First Amendment.
Right.
You don't believe in freedom of speech.
Right.
You don't believe in freedom of religion.
Yep.
You don't believe in the Second Amendment. You don't believe in the Electoral College. You don't believe in the Senate.
What do you believe in?
Yeah, what exactly do you believe in? You can't tell me the three branches of government.
Right.
Huh? 866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on speed and space management. When driving, you need to manage the space around your vehicle so that there's enough space to allow you to adjust when traffic conditions change. The space ahead of your vehicle is the most important and one of the easiest to monitor and adjust as needed. One rule of thumb is to allow at least 1 second for each 10 feet of vehicle length at speeds below 40 miles per hour. At greater speeds, add an additional second. It's impossible to keep other drivers from tailgating you, but there are some things you can do to make it safer, such as increasing your following distance, avoiding quick lane changes, and slowing down. There are also several things you should do to ensure that there is plenty of space between the side of your vehicle and other vehicles. Don't hug the center line, avoid hugging the right side of the road, and avoid traveling alongside other vehicles in strong winds, especially crosswinds. This tip was brought to you by JJ Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara, taking a look after the bottom of the hour, job growth. Wow.
Yeah, not good.
Did you see this? August continued the trend. Half of new jobs were in the government.
Yeah, right.
Or in healthcare or social assistance that are heavily funded by government. Employers shed jobs in manufacturing, 24,000, retail, 11,000, and information, 7,000. We'll get to some of those numbers coming up.
We have a line open. 1-866-90 Red Eye. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. One of the things we've talked about many times before is the economic illiteracy that exists in this nation, even up to the top levels of government. You and I remember when Obama said, "You didn't build this."
Right.
And we said, no, the private sector built everything. Everything that's been built in this country has been built because of the private sector.
Because what he was saying to these small business owners was, you wouldn't be here if the government didn't build the roads and bridges to get people to your business.
Right.
And we, that night, tore that apart and said, without the profits of those businesses, the roads and bridges would never be built.
Right. The entire system relies on profit making. If there's no profit making, it all goes to hell.
Yep.
Everything.
Yep.
Every charity, every government. There is no government if there isn't a profit motive.
Exactly.
If there isn't a profit motive,
right.
a profit. And got to play this from last week. Squawk Box. Joe Kernan lately.
Yeah.
Joe Kernan lately just going crazy. But here he is with Democratic strategist Elizabeth Panicotti. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Here they go, talking economics. Now, if you haven't seen this or heard it, get ready to cringe.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
I don't know. I read the notes, Elizabeth. You're just going to tell me raising or cutting taxes on the wealthy, as if corporations are a code word for the wealthy. I just don't understand that because.
I don't think that's true at all.
Okay, aren't you saying that's all he wants to do is cut taxes for the wealthy? Why is cutting taxes on corporations for the wealthy? Why is that for the wealthy?
I think there's both. I think, one, we know that capital income represents for the top households represents a huge amount of their income relative to wage income at the bottom. And so when those corporations do better or when they're given tax breaks, that flows to the top households. But I don't think that...
So that's a bad thing? Seriously, Elizabeth, that's a bad thing. Who do you think provides the jobs in this country and the people that work at those companies that pay the taxes to afford everything we do? The government can't provide jobs. Who's going to pay the government workers? The government doesn't have...
The government is, in fact, the largest employer in the United States.
Yeah, exactly. And where do you get the money to pay? Where do you get the money to pay those employees?
I think that there's this, false
Where do you
reality
get it?
that trickle-down economics has worked for the past 50 years. And in fact,
just answer me. Where do you get the money to pay the government employees? Just answer that. That's all I want you to answer.
Revenue from both household and corporations.
It all flows down from the private sector. I'm sorry to tell you. Let me, Michael, can you explain?
How many jobs were created by the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act?
Let Elizabeth Panicotti, Roosevelt Forward Director, and Michael Falken.
Wow. He should have been more direct.
Yeah.
And simply say, stop it right now. Because she just said the infrastructure bill has employed millions of, thousands of, I don't forget.
Where's the money come from?
Yeah, where does the money, what makes it possible for any piece of legislation to hire government workers or hire workers from the private sector? Where does the money come from? This is where we tore apart during the Obama years. Oh, he's the smartest guy in the room. No. Nobody's as smart as Obama. This guy's just a genius. Finally, we have a president that knows what's going on. And we hit him many times, but I don't think we probably didn't hit him any harder than when he said, you didn't build this. Because if you're a business out there, government built you the roads and bridges. Government didn't build squat.
Nope.
The private sector and the profit-making of corporations built everything.
But this is why, by the way, they're now pushing for these taxes on unrealized gains. Because what is beyond taxing individuals who haven't been born yet? When you borrow, that's what you're doing.
Right.
You're taxing future generations. Well, then beyond that, you have to tax actual profits that haven't happened yet.
Yeah. If you're going to, let's tax people that haven't happened yet. So we're just going on.
Profits that happen. Because it doesn't, I don't believe it stops with just unrealized capital gains. I believe if they were successful in doing that, it would then be, well, what are your projections for the next 5 years? Well, we believe it's going to continue to grow 2%. Fork it over. What are you going to be earning for the year? You need to pay your taxes for the entire year. Not April for last year's earnings, January 1st for this next year's earnings.
All taxes must be paid up front.
Exactly.
just like you can prepay, what is it, your 401k?
Right.
It's
well,
you can you front load it at the beginning of the year.
Exactly.
Front load your taxes will be mandatory.
Right. Forget quarterly.
But it's a simple concept that, and this is where you have complete economic illiterate people like Elizabeth Panicotti, completely. I mean, these people have jobs.
Yeah.
People employ these people. They're idiots. Everything. Nothing in this country exists if the private sector doesn't make a profit.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
And she said, well, it's also people making profit. People only make profits, which is what you have after you pay all of your debts and everything else, which a lot of people would say, I don't have a lot of profit.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
you in essence don't pay on the profits, your taxes. You pay it on your gross earnings.
Yeah. Right.
You can deduct some things, but you can't deduct all the expenses that you have.
Right.
And all the expenses that you have determine what your final profit is, and that's what you've saved over the period of a year. But that doesn't exist if corporations don't make a profit. It all crumbles.
That's it. And that's why they're at a point. They understand liberals now are desperate. They understand that we're out of money. And we can't continue to do this. So what do? Well, you go after future profits. You start looking at this, and they have plenty of boots on the ground surrogates, even some at these financial channels that are arguing for this. It is the greatest level of insanity because it is so self-destructive. A plan implemented into policy like that would destroy an economy. Because if they can do that, then why wouldn't you have to pay your unrealized gains on your 401k along the way? Why not? Your 401k is growing. Oh. Well, we need to see some taxes from you as an individual. They always make it seem like it's the wealthy. They've built this, this picture in people's minds of the big evil rich guy sitting on a mountain of money chomping a cigar. It's actually you they want to come after. That's $600 you deposited. Ooh, what are you doing there? Why are you earning cash? We want to know what you're doing. Now they've flooded these ideas, and they got immediate backlash, which is why they haven't done it yet. But the moment they gain enough seats, the moment they get enough power, you can bet your backside that they will.
Now, the only reason it's not going to happen on the federal level is the courts will strike it down as unconstitutional.
It is unconstitutional.
Because it's not the only thing the feds can do is the income tax on an individual.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you do unrealized, again, that would hit more than, remember, because they were talking about, corporations, private equity firms, and individuals that over a certain level of money would be charged their unrealized capital gains. So,
but eventually, again, my point is, but eventually they want to go after you. This is the wedge.
Well,
this is the wedge in the door.
Well, they are going after you in the fact that it would hurt everyone if they did this, even if they went after. If they went
indirectly,
after,
yes,
indirectly, it's like corporate taxes. The biggest lie that Democrats have been successful, the biggest economic lie I believe that they've been most successful at over the last 50 years. What happened? Something happened. Oh, I saw something happen 50 years ago yesterday. I forgot what it was. I'm going to find out what it was. Okay, I saw it on yesterday. I went, okay, I might have bookmarked it. When I just realized 50 years, I just went, oh, that just light went off in my head. I'll figure out what that was. But the biggest lie that Democrats have got away with, and unfortunately, the people that have been most gullible to buy into it have been the people that it affects the most, is corporate taxes.
Well, that's it. I mean,
because it's a stealth tax on the individual.
Well, because again, they start with this, only the wealthy on this unrealized capital gains tax, and then all of a sudden, their new candidate, the guy who is the savior, the guy who's the smartest guy in the room is saying, well, above $250,000, above a certain amount, because then you have to start comparing, well, wait a minute, why is it fair that you're making Joe the plumber $250,000 and your neighbor down the street's only making $30,000? You know, that's the game they get into. They eventually are going to come after you. That's the entire game, is they know they can't do it by taxing the wealthy if they take everything from the wealthy. They still can't get there, so they have to do it by taxing everybody across the board.
You know, I see this Elizabeth Panicotti, and I've never heard of her before, Democratic strategist. These people come out and you go, well, where the hell did you come from?
Mm-hmm.
What real-world experience do you have? What I really find amazing are the people that are extremely clueless on everything, but extremely confident in their cluelessness.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I thought about that last week. There was, I forget what it was that I was reading about, and it was like, you know, that person says it as if it's a fact.
I know. Well, Obama, when he said, you know, you didn't build that.
Right.
With all the cockiness and people adoring him going, he's the smartest guy. He's an idiot.
Where do you think the money comes from for the government to fund the roads and bridges?
Right.
It's about the profits.
To make that statement, you're an idiot. You're completely clueless, but he was totally confident with a slight bit of arrogance in, you don't know that? Like gaslighting. Don't you know you didn't build that?
But he's counting on, and he doesn't know. I believe he is clueless on many things, and he's counting on other people to be clueless too, because if you don't know the three branches of government, you may not even understand what taxes are. You may think, like a lot of people, that a company just has a fund over here, just a fund, just say it's a fund, and they write checks from that fund to pay their taxes. How's the fund funded? Well, they have a fund. But how is the fund funded? It's a fund. This is where we are.
How is the fund funded? Through a fund.
It's a fund.
This is definitely Kramer.
No,
this is definitely Kramer. Just
write it off.
Write it off. You don't even know what write it off means.
Well, they do, and that's why they just
write it off. But they do.
I mean, I'm right about that to the degree of millions of qualified voters.
I know.
We're doomed.
866. I got time for me to bring the T-shirt back.
Yeah, and a whiskey.
I did see local station, TV station. They've got a new political show. I can't remember the name of it. I just saw the ad yesterday.
Yeah.
WFAA here locally.
Yeah.
And it's a political show, and they got beers.
Really?
Yep. They had beer. Now, I don't know the but it was like they were, like we can have a beer with it. So I don't know if they're drinking beers on this show, and they figure that's how we can get it. All I know is discussing politics with alcohol, if you disagree on the issues, probably is not the way to go.
I'm guessing.
I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah.
I saw it yesterday. I was like, wow. And I just caught it on the side. I'm like, what's this? What? They got alcohol. What politics, alcohol? What? You're going to discuss religion too? You're going to discuss religion. Make sure you bring a bong.
Exactly.
Yeah, have both. Beer and a bong.
Exactly.
We'll discuss politics and religion.
Yeah.
And it'll be all nice. Nobody will get angry. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, I found the show. It's a podcast. It's a political podcast of WFAA called Y'all-itics. Each week we'll crack open an ice-cold Texas brew and explore a single hot topic affecting Texans.
So they're actually having a beer.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Can we do that?
I mean, we can once.
Maybe a mimosa.
Yeah.
It's the morning time.
Yeah, why not?
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.